Hey, everybody. Welcome to the next episode of 5-Minute Interviews. I've got with me today my neighbor and my fellow preacher here in the great state of Arkansas, the wonderful city of Fort Smith, Mr. Kevin Thompson from the Community Bible Church in Fort Smith. Kevin, it's good to have you here with us.
Well, Chris, great to be with you. Thanks so much for the invitation.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And like I was talking to you earlier, I'm so glad that I've got an Arkansas preacher finally represented now. We haven't had anyone from Arkansas on the show yet. So you're the first guest from Arkansas. How's that?
That's good.
Yeah. So the question I've been asking everybody who's in preaching right now is, what are you preaching for Easter?
Yeah, so this week we're going to be in Luke's version of the story from his perspective, and in the end of his gospel, he has the idea of Jesus now walking into where the disciples are, locked behind a locked door, apparently scared that maybe they might be under attack, and he shows up, and his opening words to the disciples in that room are "Peace be to you," and then it goes on to explain that he took the Old Testament law, the prophets, and of Moses, and all the teachings. And he revealed to them it was a fulfillment of all those things. And so the big picture for me is simply going to be this, that peace for us is a byproduct of when Jesus puts all the pieces together. And so as we begin to understand how our life looks in response to Jesus putting the pieces in the right places, the byproduct of that is wholeness. It's peace for us. And yet whenever we ignore him and we try to figure out where everything fits, and we try to figure out what's important and what's not important, then we're always left living in the midst of this tension. And so even for the disciples, they were terrified for their lives. Jesus shows up, shows them the big picture. They can see how their lives fit into that. It's still going to cost them their lives.
Yeah.
And yet they have peace. So their circumstance really doesn't change, but that inward sense of feeling does greatly change as they see their lives in the midst of the big picture. So that's what we're doing on Sunday.
All right, that sounds real good. So, Kevin, the question I got for you is, what's different about online preaching, and what's really going to be different for Easter with the family at Community?
Yeah, I think the preaching difference is I don't think we understand how much energy we draw from the room until you preach to an empty room and you have that feeling afterwards of being absolutely exhausted. Now, obviously, there's limits of what you can and can't do. It's hard to tell a joke when you don't know what the response is going to be. Of course, my people would say it'd be the exact same response as if we were in the room. We just stare at you because it's not that funny anyway.
Yeah.
But I think the emotional energy that's required is different. But in the end, for us, if we can just remember that behind that lens, there's a bunch of people. And so you're just talking to people is all you're doing. So there's really not, to me, it's not as big of a change as people think. There are some minor issues of what you can do and can't do. The physical kind of response. I love to read people's faces and try to figure out, are they getting this or not? Or do I need to go more in depth? But in the end, you look at the camera, you're talking to people, and you're just taking the text and applying it to you. And if they get anything, they're going to, because they're just as messed up as you and I are.
Yes.
And so you just trust the Spirit in the midst of that.
I've had a lot of people tell me that this format, I don't think they want it to last forever, of course, but they're saying that it's like stripping away everything and getting down to the essence of what the gospel is about.
Oh, absolutely. And I think it begins to reveal for us inside the church and outside the church leadership what our idols are and what are the things that we're really putting our trust in that in reality is not where our trust needs to be. And let's face it, one of the first conversations we had with our staff team was the vision of Community Bible is that we would be a church who finds life in Jesus, who loves its neighbors, and makes God's kingdom known. Nothing has changed in this format.
That's good.
As a matter of fact, the opportunity to do that maybe has increased. And so what the church needs to do is unchanged. How we do it has been different.
That's fantastic. Kevin, thank you. This has been quite an encouragement. 5 minutes goes fast. I think I'm spoiling people. They think that my sermons are going to be like this, but
exactly.
Anyway, hey, thank you for being a part of this, and much encouragement to you and yours. And I'll just say Happy Easter.
Well, thanks so much, Chris. Happy Easter to you too. And what a privilege it is to work alongside of you in the greater Fort Smith region.
Oh, I feel the same way. Thank you, Kevin. All right, folks, thanks for tuning in.